So we are here doing a Q&A on Karbon and the fact that the client portal is going to go live and give you some more functionality. And the
Okay,
wonderful Neil is here with us, who has some questions. So
excellent.
fire away, Neil. I'm
Okay,
going to try and answer them now.
right. So I haven't had a chance to properly review what that client portal is going to offer us.
Okay.
But what I have sort of had in my mind is quite often we have sort of back and forth with you on sort of queries. Say it's just maybe something to do with um, VAT or something like that, or a query on payroll, and we tend to have to at the moment drop that line out via an email to your support line. Is this going to replace that in that respect as a communications tool?
It will do in some ways, possibly not give you the functionality that you've just the specific one you've asked for there. So let me
Okay.
try and answer it, and you tell me if I've got it right.
Okay.
So the portal as it stands at the minute, when you get a request from us to provide some information, or like you say, there's some back and forth on something that we've asked for, you'll get an email come through, and you have to click on the manage the checklist, and you go in there, you mark something off, and effectively you're always getting these kind of pings through of emails. But if I've asked for something and say James has asked for something and Luke's asked for something else, you'll have 3 separate emails that will come through, and you have to access each one through their own clicking on each of those emails. You'll still get the notifications come through on an email. That's still a thing. However, you will, from the 8th of May, you'll have the functionality to set up a client portal with like a login, which is effectively like a Karbon inbox. So if you want to go into Karbon and say I've emailed you about something and you're like, oh, Eloise is asking for XYZ, you go in, you can, again, it's optional. You can keep doing it exactly the same way as you do now. But by setting up the portal, you log in and you'll see all of the requests from all of us. So you don't have to go back to your email and find a million different links. You'll be like, oh, I didn't realize that James needed that as well. Oh, and there's that. So you can just go in there and have a look at what you've got to answer. You can answer it or not, but at least you know it's there. And then anything that's also completed, so any work that's happened in the past, you'll also be able to see on there as well. So you can go back into things and get files that you might have shared or check what the answer was to that. So it's effectively like an inbox, but that but through the Karbon portal, which we don't currently have. So you can't currently go back to look at things historically. You can't currently see everything in the same place. So it's trying to give you more functionality that way. The thing I think you asked me, which is, if I want to ask, like if I want to contact you completely out of the blue, Eloise, and you haven't asked me for anything, can I do that through Karbon? The answer is no, you can't currently, but we've asked for that functionality and we believe that they're going to bring that. But it's not so you can't create the conversation. You can only kind of deal with ones that are there. But the intention is that that's the next step. So this is obviously it's an evolving software, so that's the next thing. But in answer to if that's the specific question, it doesn't now, but the hope is that we'll have that soon.
But it will do. Okay, that's not an issue. It's just sort of it's useful if it's just one thing, as I know
absolutely.
At the moment, generally, it's me that does all the in and out querying to do with VAT, PAYE, anything to do with the accountancy services you provide. It's generally me as the primary contact, and occasionally Liam will get involved, but will still ask me to do the responses and stuff like that. So it'd be nice if there is a single point of access for us, and maybe we can either set up a group login for it, or 3 people. It'd be me, Liam, and Christina probably each have our own logins for it and use it that way. A bit like Bright Pay. That's quite a useful bit of kit. We like that. It means that we can review historical stuff, that sort of thing. So from a historical perspective, when things get closed out, the VAT conversation I'm having with Nicola at the moment, that gets closed out. I can't go back and get that information off of that once I've clicked this is complete, and that's sometimes something I forget to download the document at the end that I need to save. So that's going to be useful, I think, being able to.
Yeah, we hope
the biggest
to.
problem, isn't it? The biggest feedback is we want to go back to historic items. Because you want to go back and refer to it or download something, you can now with the portal.
You will, from the 8th of May, you'll be able to do that. Again, just to give clarity on that, because I can totally understand the frustrating element of that. And it's like, why would you do that? Obviously, when we have the portal, the reason we had that initially is because there was no way until now of making that secure so that it could stay open. We were really worried that if we didn't have that ability to close it off and mean that, somebody couldn't just click on that at any point, that they wouldn't have that sort of open access to potentially very sensitive data. So until we got to the point where that was actually possible, that's why that's been in place. Irritating as it is, it was in order to try and secure data. So now we have the ability to do that because it's got MFA on it as well. We're, that's why we're now prepared to do that, because we believe it's, again, the whole reason we moved to Karbon was to make things more secure for all the sensitive data that you're sharing. So yeah, that's why.
Just for clarity, what's MFA, Eloise?
Oh, sorry, multi-factor authentication. So that means that you'll have had it on, you'll have it on pretty much everything from your Tesco shopping to your banking app. You don't just log in with your email address and a password. It'll ask you for a code, or it'll ask you for, a one-time password or something like that. So that's what that is.
Yeah, that's good. That was the other thing. An extension to that security thing is what is the sort of security package with it? Because in the next couple of years, we're going to try and expand our company accreditations with ISO 9000 and 14000 and so on. So one of the things will be security relating to customer data and our own personal data and stuff. So what's provided by Karbon to cover that stuff?
So in terms of specifics, again, I can well, I do actually, because again, honestly, as I've just said, the overarching reason we moved to Karbon, that we have delayed certain accessibilities because we won't do anything that we believe puts client data at risk, which is why obviously when we ask clients to share things, it's like, please do it through Karbon because email is at risk, all of those kind of things. So security of client data is our primary concern. So whilst sort of some semantics in terms of how it would relate to ISO, and all of those, I could probably find that out for you and come back to you on it, Neil. But in terms of the kind of overarching general layman's sort of concept is obviously with the MFA, that's why we're now enabling this to happen so that you have that access. If it didn't have that and you only had that one protocol, that wouldn't be something we would do. In terms of the way that the data is, everything is obviously encrypted. From our end, nobody who doesn't have that kind of access can get into it. It's not something that even Karbon can get into. So everything is kind of standalone. It's not accessible in a way that data can be breached or accessed by anybody who's not supposed to be accessing it equally, unless you hand out your email address and your MFA. That's also it's secure on that end. So from both ends of it, it's secure, it's kept secure. And the reason that we chose Karbon and we promote Karbon is because it's a standalone platform. So data isn't actually leaving it. No. It's always, everyone is always accessing into it. So it's not actually moving anywhere. It's kept in that one place.
Okay, that's fine. I just tried, there was something else I wanted to ask on it as well. So that was it. So how long, talk about going back historically, how far back will we be able to access historical data, and will it be sort of conversations we've already had, or will it only be from the transition?
That is a very good question, Neil. I think it'll be from the point of which we go live. But that doesn't mean that we can't make it so that you can have access. So, and by that, I mean, if there was something you're like, oh, Louise, I really want that conversation that I had last month before this went live, we would just send you a message through Cart. We just reopen it, and then it would be, on there. So if there were things that you particularly wanted, we can make that, we can bring it onto your accessible data if it's not already there.
We can do that already, Neil. Like if someone wanted access to a conversation, we can open it out. It's fine. But as you can imagine, a portal is way easier because you don't have to.
Of course.
But equally though, as Neil knows, you can only open that for so long. So whereas what Neil's saying is when he now logs into the Karbon portal, can he have can he always go back to it? And like I say, just to honestly, Neil, I think it's only going to be from the point that it goes live on the 8th. But if there are conversations that you want just tell us,
Just
you know,
ask.
yeah, and we can
that's
do
fine.
that, and then you'll have them on there, so that'll be fine.
Yeah.
Okay. And I suppose another thing then is sort of users on it. Do we have a limitation on number of users, or can we just, you know, do we set our own users up, or do we request that through you?
Yeah,
Sort
you
of
won't.
multiple.
Yeah, no, you won't set it up. We won't set it up for you. So we'll send you a URL link, and then you set up your own login. So it'll ask you to set up a login and a password. Obviously, you'll do that one time. You'll set that up, and then you'll be able to access that. Again, if you had like a general email, like a support email or something that you wanted to be able to, you know, everyone to log in through, you could do that. The only thing I would caution you on that is obviously there's a security element if you're all using the same access.
Understood.
So we would advise that you don't do that, just in the same way as now when we send an email through, like if it was to you, it would come through to your inbox, and that's how you'd access that. We would do it we'd advise that you do it in the same way that you would set it up with your own email. So again, you're not losing the security that you've got in place.
The other thing I'm sort of querying then, because obviously at the moment there's, I suppose, four directors. We all get information through that on a personal basis. We're all very well aware of each other's income and outgoings and stuff relating to the business anyway, so that's not really an issue personally. But so each of those users are going to need to have access, I assume, to the portal.
Yeah, so they would set up their own login so that they can have that data. Yeah.
Okay, and then everything to do with personal tax returns will go through that, as well as all the
every conversation
stuff.
Correct. Yeah, but it's just exactly what you get now, though, Neil. Effectively, like the portal is obviously just a platform, but if you were supposed to receive something that's pertaining to the company generally, that'll be in there. But equally, if you're getting something that's for your personal tax, that'll be in there. But that doesn't mean that your other director is seeing the same information. They're seeing only what they've been
invited to.
Correct.
Okay. Fine. So if we, for instance, then at the moment, I say I get all the VAT, PAYE stuff and so on. So is it easy to make those conversations sort of, I don't know. I mean, I don't know if it complicates things. Would you be able to have more than one user access that? For instance, sometimes one of us will be on holiday for maybe 2 weeks to come back and then have to do that. So if I get that request but I'm not here, can it also go to Liam as well, or not?
Yeah. So I think so. In terms of, can things be sent to more than one person? Absolutely. Can you give access to your portal to somebody else? No, unless you give them your login. So if you were going to be away, or just for argument's sake, you were like, look, Eloise, I might be away, I might not. Most of the time I'll deal with it. But can we now just make it so that me and Liam get everything every time? Like, just send it to Liam as well. So if I am out, he can access it. We can do that. Or if there's certain work that you're like, can you send it to me and Liam? We can do that. So if there is a structure you would prefer both of you or several of you to get something every time, we can do it. That's not a problem. Or like I say, if you're going to be out for a week and you're like, if there's anything on this, can you ask Liam instead? Totally. All fine. But we wouldn't advise that you give your access to the portal to somebody else. And equally, we can't make it so that they can. We would just have to send a request to them as well.
Yeah, sure. No, that's fine. Look, all I'm thinking is if VAT queries are sent out, for instance, and normally it's me, but I'm not here, and I don't get that, and it sort of loses 2 weeks of processing at our end, which it often does anyway because I'm slow. But it's just useful if someone else is already getting it, that we can action it sooner rather than later, or at least it be on everyone's radar before I come back from holiday, or whatever, which I don't often take. I have to say, I'm a nightmare for actually taking holidays, but everyone else tells me off for it. So,
well, you need a holiday, Neil. Everyone needs a holiday. But it answers your question. Yes. So we can do it any which of those ways. Like, you can either have the certain work that you want set up so it goes to everybody, or certain people, we can just make that the standard and we can do that. Or if for the period that you're on holiday, you're like, can you send this to this person as well? We can do that. So if you tell us how you'd like it to be, we can do that. That's not a problem.
Right. That's really good. Okay. I think then I think that's all my sort of thoughts I had in my head, because I have to say I preferred the functionality. I know Liam finds it a little bit clunky working through personal tax returns checklists. Right. He doesn't like that, but no. I've said, well, it's a nice sort of easily referred to checklist, and you can't miss anything. Whereas previously it was a form that you had to fill out and send it back and stuff like that. So and it's a nice easy method for just uploading and attaching documents and so on. So I think maybe sort of simplifying how we go through those things, if there is any way of simplifying those processes, that would be good. But I still prefer how it used to be. I prefer this to how it used to be, sort of filling out forms and so on. So and because it keeps flagging up when things haven't been done, that's also good, because as Russell knows, I forget stuff regularly.
Well, like we all forget stuff. Yeah. As you say, though, like, you know, everyone's running a business, right? So people are doing other things. So yeah, you're not the only one, Neil. Do not worry, we're all forgetting things all the time. But in terms of the processes, like you say, though, we're always looking to try and improve those processes. That's something we're doing all the time. So if there are ways that we can simplify it, we will. Again, I'm pleased that you do find it better. That's great. For us, it makes more sense than a form, because sometimes it gets missed and we have to send it back to, you know, and again, also there's that how you're sending the form, it's that personal data, it's that things having to leave the platform. So it's nice to have it in there and to be able to have a conversation where everyone can access it as well. So if you do have questions on something, we can come back to you on that same thread, and you can see it kind of like, you know, like a WhatsApp chat or a Slack. So there is benefits. I'm pleased that you find the value in that. But if we can simplify those sorts of in carbon forms, if you will, with those tasks, we will look to do that. So just so you know, that is something we're always reviewing. We're always trying to find a more streamlined way of doing those sorts of things as well.
Perfect. That's good, that. Thank you. Sorry, I didn't realise it was that meeting, but
no, it's all good.
It's been useful anyway.
No, but this is great, Neil. Well, I'm pleased you're here because you've asked questions, so that's been really, really good.